Hello and welcome to today's edition of Severe Thunderstorm Outlook. Still a lot to talk about, especially today and a little bit of tomorrow. And it's been that way for a while. In fact, if you look at these reports here, this is the last 36 hours worth of reports. And I know there's a lot on here, but if it's yellow, it's basically a wind gust over 59 miles per hour. And if it's purple, it's basically a hailstone report of 1 inch in diameter or greater. And those are the official levels or the criteria for considering something severe. So you can see there are definitely swaths of wind that have developed. That one there from the Dakotas and Nebraska, and the very notorious one, which kind of had two segments to it. It started out in Iowa a couple of days ago, weakened a little, and then really pummeled southwest, South Chicago suburbs area. And I'm not even including heavy rainfall, which has really inundated Indiana on this. This is just wind and hail reports. And there's a couple of embedded tornadoes, too. You see one there, and I think they're probably going to find one in southwest Chicagoland area, too. I'm not sure. And this keeps going. If I change this, you can still see this kept going that same day. A lot of hail reports indicated from that, and also yesterday's activity. And then we have a lot of hail reports out here around North Carolina and parts of South Carolina as well. So this is the thunderstorm slide that I refer to a lot when I do these videos, and they can sometimes get quite nasty in the summer because they represent the difference in between cool and warm air. But in this case, the cool air is not really pounding this way into the thunderstorms, but instead it acts as kind of a quasi-stationary focusing mechanism. And then little disturbances come along, and these storms will tend to have the impact that they have in the same areas again and again. They may shift a little bit from time to time, but and that is kind of summed up. And when I show you this now, this is the supercell composite for the next 7 days. It's a good way of seeing, this isn't any particular outbreak, but it does clearly show that we still have this slide in effect. This is just the probability of getting a supercell thunderstorm, which gets up to about 30% of the darkest red there. Anytime over the next 7 days, they just keep adding up the pixels. So you can clearly see there's a threat zone there. And that's week 1, so that's today for the next 7 days. And I'll show you week 2 and week 3 at the end of the video. So here is the severe thunderstorm risk for today. SPC issues this every day. Very grateful we have that organization to do this for us. They do a fantastic job coming out with outlooks on day 1. Like today, they'll issue at least 3 different outlooks and maybe another one if necessary. Actually, it's 4. I think they do one automatically in the early evening too. Anyway, so we definitely see there are 2 areas here of the highest risk on today's forecast, which is level 2, and we'll zoom in on these individually. So these thunderstorms are ongoing and slamming through this area right now. They're also on the edge here. So this is a level 2 out of 5. This is really about coverage and a little bit about intensity. And so we on day 1 can break this down by severe weather threats. So there is a 2% chance. It's low, but it is there for a tornado within 25 miles. That does encompass southern and central Indiana, a chunk of eastern Illinois, and down into Kentucky as well. It includes towns like Indianapolis, Louisville, Evansville, Champaign, and all the towns in between there. And that is for the rest of today. And these are all 24-hour forecasts. So all these the threat is expected to be from when I'm airing this till tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. The wind risk is out ahead of that squall line area here. Now, of course, this may be dated by the time you watch it. These outlooks are not meant to be at the same granularity as a watch or a warning, so just kind of keep that in mind. But anyway, that is the 2 primary risks for this cluster of showers and storms. Hail, not so much, but it will show up, of course, in some of the stronger storms. Then we go back to the west and take a look at this second area of level 2. So southern South Dakota, almost all of Nebraska, a little chunk of Iowa included in that. There is a wind risk associated with this. No tornado risk that the SPC has pulled the trigger on, but the wind risk is categorical in terms of its intensity level. So this whole striped area here has these probabilities for wind intensity. The vast majority of these are going to stay below hurricane force winds, but there is a small chance that they could go higher than that in some storms. And the yellow, of course, is a 15% chance of any severe wind, which would be a 59 mile per hour gust or greater. On the hail side, there's a risk out here worth mentioning too. That same 15% shows up there from Rapid City south into northeast Colorado, really, and all the Nebraska Panhandle, and intensity has been assigned to that as well. But again, almost all of that, the vast majority, 50-50 chance that it'll stay somewhere between about a 1 inch and 1.5 inches in diameter. Now, NATOcast, based on the 12Z data, is still painting a tornado picture there across Illinois and Indiana here. So it just kind of depends on how the thunderstorm clusters that are currently in that area are evolving and what they're leaving behind in terms of cool outflow boundaries and how quickly the atmosphere can recover. So again, this is a global forecast for that area, but they also do kind of highlight that Nebraska Panhandle area, which the Storm Prediction Center did not. In a similar fashion, CSU's model does that for Nebraska, but also kind of paints a picture of Illinois and even over into Ohio as still having a little bit 2% chance of a tornado. The hail risk is where the SPC put it, and the wind risk is kind of a combination of both of these forecasts, really, but actually emphasizing Illinois, Indiana, and over to around the Cincinnati area for today. All of these are for Wednesday. Now let's turn the page to Thursday. No slight risks yet, but if you watch this enough, or watch the SPC forecast enough to know, you'll know that if you just eyeball this, for example, that a slight risk almost seems like it would fit right there, wouldn't it? So anyway, this is just for information for tomorrow. A marginal risk, a low risk, but every day I've looked at this, the marginal has been converted to slight somewhere. There's also this interesting little area, thunderstorms out here in Nevada, and also this marginal risk covers a lot of ground from Denver all the way over to Kentucky. So we'll see if that can get fine-tuned. Now, you don't have to have a slight risk of storms to have specifics on the type of storm. So they actually did put a tornado risk out to 2% in this part of the marginal risk tomorrow. So the two are not exclusive. You don't have to have a slight risk to have a tornado risk. You can have marginal risk for storms, but then the ones that do form have this chance of having a tornado. It's a perfectly acceptable way to interpret that. NATOcast backs that up, but puts the tornado risk maybe a little bit more north into Illinois, a state which has been pummeled this year. You remember it all started with the Kankakee tornadoes, that weird event back in March that no one really expected, and ever since then it's been weird. So anyways, that's here's CSU's outlook for Thursday. A little bit of a tornado risk there in the Ohio River Valley area over to Indianapolis. Not much on the hail side. Wind a little bit more subdued. And then on Friday, we have this area of marginal risk still showing up. Again, no slight risk, but again, embedded in that, you might get one. And as a case in point, I do want to show you the tornado risk map as generated by StormNet. And it does it's actually the highest probability of tornadoes showing up here as I looked over the data here in the last hour or so. So there's almost a 20% chance of a tornado right around the Burlington, Iowa area, maybe up to Davenport, over to Galesburg. In that area, that's Friday from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So an evening and overnight event. Those are always scary and a little more common as we get into the summer months, if they're going to occur at all. CSU for Friday, no tornado mentioned really at all, although you should note that. Hail not really showing up. A little bit of wind risk, still kind of hot there around the Carolinas, especially South Carolina. Then on Sunday, we'll skip over to Sunday. That's when at least we have a large and somewhat meaningful area of 15% probability showing up there and centered on Virginia. And then I'll finish up by looking at Monday. All the probabilities beyond Monday, not really worth talking about, but there is a pretty good area of 15% risk of any severe weather there from Virginia all the way down to, eastern Georgia. Then we'll finish out these supercell composites. Again, same pattern where we have this slide of thunderstorms. And since this is an accumulation, it's not an exact forecast for every given day, but it has been incredibly consistent in showing up through at least, the last week of August or part of it. But then it does break down a little bit week 3, but week 3 has the highest variability. So, and it is kind of still there. So I just think that the overall pattern of extremely hot weather here, cool air masses coming down here, and a focus for the thunderstorms will continue here for the next several weeks.